Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here again at an annual general meeting. And this may be my last talk to this group for two reasons. One, the project has ended and I just submitted my 200 plus pages of final report to Ontario Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. And the second thing, I've also retired from the university. So because the project has come to an end, I thought I would talk a little bit on the last aspect that we worked on, verifying organic carbon sequestration using a Delta C13 carbon signature, where we were interested to what extent when an agricultural field is converted to a biomass, C4 crops like miscanthus and switchgrass, how can we follow the tracer, Delta C13 tracer in the soil and see to what extent these biomass crops are contributing to soil organic carbon sequestration. In this context, I would like to really thank the Ontario Biomass Producer Cooperative, especially James Fisher and Norm Richardson, for the endless letters of support they have provided over the years. We started this project in 2009. It's about 15 years later. So without your letters of support, I wouldn't have been able to secure funding from OMAFRA. I thank you all sincerely. And it was quite an extensive work, and we collected soil samples from the 11 different sites, 32 different fields. I sincerely thank all the landowners, respective landowners who provided us access to their land, including Don Nuts switchgrass fields, where we collected soil samples from 2016. We set up GPS coordinates in all these sites so that we could go back and sample at the same locations. So we thank all the landowners as well. So today I'm going to focus on the Delta 13C carbon analysis. Especially, we are going to focus on 3 sites: Elora Research Site, which was established by Professor Bill Dean, who is here in our audience, and then the Guelph Research Site, which was Elora Research Site was established in 2008. Guelph Research Site was established in 2009, and then Norm's Research Site was established in 2016. So we were, and at the same time, on each site we had agricultural land and a woodlot. So we want to compare the soil organic carbon gains in agricultural fields adjacent to each other with the biomass crops in a fertile land, class 1 agricultural land in Elora, class 2, 3 lands in Guelph and Burlington. And Burlington, we selected that because the biomass crops were young. They were just established in 2016. This has just an aerial photograph of the Elora showing the miscanthus field and the agriculture field and the woodlot. This is the Guelph site where you can see the biomass fields, adjacent agriculture field, and then the woodlot over here. This is the junction of College Avenue East and Victoria Road North. And then same with Norm's farm, he has in a strip, he has all his biomass crops, and then his woodlot is over there. So these are the establishment years, and part of the agricultural lands were converted to biomass crops. So that baseline soil organic carbon and what we established in all those 11 sites, 32 fields, that work has been published. An important point that we are trying to drive here is that our work with you all has received the attention of the global research communities. And these papers, some of these papers that we have published already are class 1 or class A in international journals. So let's look at the long-term soil organic carbon. Now, I'm going to introduce 2 concepts of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has 2 molecular weights, C12, and then there are also 13C carbon dioxide. And C3 plants like beans and wheat, they have an affinity to take more of the C12 carbon, and then corn, switchgrass, and miscanthus C4 plants, they have an ability to take more of a 13C carbon. But I will explain that further in the next slide. So let us look at what happened over an 11-year period, how soil organic carbon changed when part of the agricultural land got converted to switchgrass and miscanthus, whereas the Burlington site being the youngest site, and Elora and Guelph being the oldest site. So what we see here is 11 years, and there was no significant increase in soil organic carbon between 2008 and 2019 at the Elora site. But however, if you look at the soil organic carbon increase in switchgrass and miscanthus, there was a significant increase at the Elora site. Please note the y-axis. You can see that we are starting with a higher soil organic carbon here, close to about 77 megagrams of carbon, whereas in Guelph we are starting about 54 megagrams of carbon. One assumption is that when you start with a lower carbon and when you introduce the perennial biomass crop, the probability of soil organic carbon enhancement could be higher compared to a fertile land where you're starting off with a higher soil organic carbon. Now, in Guelph side, we saw an increase in soil organic carbon in the agricultural field as well. These results was not expected because agricultural lands, if you can maintain your soil organic carbon, it's much better. To get an increase in soil organic carbon through agricultural crops is not being reported widely in the literature. There could be a confounding effect here. One, since 2009, when we converted part of the biomass agricultural land to biomass crops, the turf grass institute had some turf grass for 3 years in the agricultural land. And thereafter, when the research ended, they worked the turf grass into the agricultural land. And then the agriculture crop rotation changed from corn, bean, wheat to corn, bean, rotation. Corn, bean, corn rotation. So this change in land use in between also could have contributed as a significant gain in soil organic carbon. But importantly, again, as we saw in a fertile land, switchgrass and miscanthus, they all contributed to a significant increase in soil organic carbon over an 11-year time period. However, when it came to Norm's farm, because he established his switchgrass on part of his agricultural land in 2016, when we went back in 2020, we did not see any significant increase in soil organic carbon over a 4-year period. In the literature, it is suggested when you try to convert the agricultural land to biomass crop, there is disturbance. And initially there is a carbon loss, and thereafter from year 3 onwards, the carbon starts gaining. So maybe that could have happened, even though we had numerically a little bit higher carbon, but you can see that carbon levels were not significantly different from since 2016 to 2020. But from these studies, what became an important finding is that if we want to look at the rate among these 3 different sites, for switchgrass, the sequestration rate on an annual basis, it's about 0.85 to 2.65 megagrams per hectare per year. When it came to miscanthus, the annual increase was about 2 to 2.65 megagrams per hectare per year. So that's an important finding that we got over an 11-year period, because Dr. Mahendra Thimanagara, with whom we work collaboratively closely, OMAFRA was interested at how much carbon these crops are sequestering on an annual basis. So we were able to provide them with that. It's not working. Can I use the manual one? Oh, it's not changing. So the so that work was also published in Geoderma Regional paper, which is a high impact factor international journal, again, giving us an acceptance in the global community of the work that we are conducting here.
Are you hitting it now?
Pardon?
Is it working for you now?
Oh, yeah, no, now it's working. So these are the range that we got. So if you look at this table, I'm sorry about, I should have changed the color here, but anyway, this is Ellora, and this is agriculture, Switchgrass miscanthus. So this is Ellora gain, Guelph gain, and Burlington gain for agriculture, for switchgrass, for miscanthus. The age, 11 years for Ellora, 11 years for Guelph, and 4 years for Burlington. And megagram per hectare per year, you can see for agriculture ranging from 2.32 highest being in Guelph, that as mentioned, that could be a confounding effect there, but 0.46 in Burlington and 0.67 in Ellora. And for switchgrass ranges from 0.85 to 2.65. And then miscanthus, these are the range. And this one is what the potential future sequestration. I mentioned in my talk earlier, we were taking soil organic carbon from the woodlots. The woodlots are undisturbed ecosystems, and soil organic carbon over 11-year period, the soil did not change. That means the soil organic carbon has reached a static state in the woodlots. So by deducting the carbon from the woodlot and what we have achieved so far, we are projecting that if you keep the switchgrass and miscanthus for the next so many years, to what extent that what potential that these crops have to enhance the soil organic carbon, because where the woodlots were destroyed to get agricultural soil. So woodlots were destroyed or trees were cut down, agricultural fields were created, and we now converted part of the agricultural field to the switchgrass. So that is why we wanted to see, okay, if they are sequestering, to what extent they can sequester. They will not be able to sequester to the amount that is in the woodlot because the microclimates are different and the vegetations are different, but at least it is showing us if we keep continuing the switchgrass and miscanthus for the next 10, 20 years, there is potential for the augmentation of the soil organic carbon because we saw more soil organic carbon in the woodlots. And this is carbon dioxide, potential carbon dioxide that can be absorbed from the atmosphere. Simply multiplying this by 3.67 and 2.67, you will get these numbers. And that work was also published at the Geoderma regional recently, that's last year in 2023. So let's come to the objective of today's presentation. So we have now established that miscanthus and switchgrass are enhancing soil organic carbon. Now then the question is, out of this total soil organic carbon gain that we have measured and demonstrated, what is the proportion of that soil organic carbon is coming from C4 plants? To do this, we implemented a delta 13 seed technique where we can, by studying the delta 12 to 13 ratio, we can calculate the amount of soil organic carbon that can come from a C4 crop. Now, as I mentioned, in a C3 plant like bean or wheat, you will get a delta 13 carbon signature of -27. In a C4 crop, you will also get a lower or dilution of the C12, and you get a delta C13 value of -13. So we had delta C13 values in the agriculture field. We had delta C13 values in the woodlot. We had delta C13 values in the biomass and in switchgrass and miscanthus field. Having all these numbers, we were able to calculate the delta 13 gain over a period of time, and then from that gain, we were able to calculate what percentage of the total carbon comes from C4. So in order to do that study, I'd like to explain this. So Ellora and Guelph was in 2008 and 9, and sample collection 7 years later, and that we used as a baseline value. And then in 2016, we had a delta C13 value for Guelph site. And in Ellora also, we had a delta C13 value for in 2020.
我咧开会，我咧开。
So what we did was, so
你要帮灾帮一下姑娘，我才去帮助
we
你。
have a delta C13 value.
你
But
顶
remember,
灾
because
这帮，
the biomass crops were established on a previous agriculture land, the delta 13C value that we derived in 2016 also included the delta C13 values brought by corn. So there's no way we can differentiate between the corn delta C13 and the miscanthus suchgrass contribution. So, and in 2020, we collected the delta C13 values, and in 2020, since the biomass crops were established on 2009, whatever the gain in delta C13 value between 2016 and 2020 will be purely from the biomass crop because corn was not on the plots. So what we did was we subtracted this value, the 2020 value, from the 2016 value to get the delta C13 value only from the switchgrass and miscanthus for the Guelph site. That's for over a 4-year period of time. Now, what would have been ideal if we would have got Ellora and Guelph delta C13 values in 2008 and 2009? Because if you would have had the delta C13 values on the Ellora and Guelph side, when part of the agricultural land was converted to switchgrass, then we could have subtracted the 2020 value from this value so that we could have eliminated the corn contribution over an 11-year period of time. That would have given us a more rigorous number. However, we have only a 4-year number now. So by doing that, then these are the values that we got. So you can see Guelph, Ellora, Burlington, agriculture field, miscanthus switchgrass, and establishment year. And then we have values for delta 13C, and we have total organic carbon. And then by calculating these one, we were able to get the C4 derived soil organic carbon. So if you add the C3 carbon here and the C4 carbon here, you will get the total soil organic carbon. So what we have done is, so if you take Guelph, agriculture is contributing, sorry, if you take Guelph, agriculture is contributing 19%, switchgrass is contributing about 31%, sorry, miscanthus is contributing 31% of a C4 carbon, and switchgrass is contributing 30%. Whereas in Ellora, switchgrass is contributing 50%, and miscanthus is contributing 50%, and switchgrass is contributing 41%. So we are seeing a more of C4 contribution to soil organic carbon in Ellora on a class 1 land compared to a class 3 land. And my assumption is, and we were talking about to Professor Bill Dean now, if you can get the yield is proportionally related to the residues that will go into the soil, which will go with the C13 signature. So if we know the yield of switchgrass and miscanthus in Ellora and yield of switchgrass and miscanthus in Guelph, by seeing the yield difference, we can purely say these differences are mainly because of the residue incorporation into the soil and thereby contributing more of a C4 soil organic carbon. And if it is complicating, I'm going to be here, so please come and ask me. So this work the paper has been already written. We are submitting the paper in about 2-3 weeks' time to the Canadian Journal of Soil Science. And this is the first time, at least Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time we have calculated the C4 contribution of soil organic carbon by biomass crops. And I'm sure that work will get published soon. So you can see the difference in contribution in soil organic carbon. But coming to norms field is playing a very important role because we now have baseline values for norms field. we have delta C13 values for norms field. So if Professor Adam Gillespie goes back in 3 years, so we last sampling was 2020. If he goes back in 3 years, it will be about 8 years. He could clearly calculate the delta 13C values and see to what extent these biomass crops are contributing more toward the soil organic carbon. Because unfortunately, the Guelph field has been sold for fusion, so there are going to be houses over there very soon. And Elora field is gone. So we only have our non-Richardson field to continue study to verify. So when it comes to C4 derived carbon, miscanthus is contributing more than switchgrass in ag and Elora field. And then agriculture in norms field, because the time frame is short, agriculture is contributing more to the C4 plant because of the corn derived C4 organic matter than miscanthus and switchgrass. So if you calculate the rates, so these are the C4 derived carbon, Guelph for switchgrass, miscanthus, and ag. These are the C4 derived stock in 2020. By subtracting these, you get these values. And over 4-year period, this is the C4 contribution rate. For switchgrass is 0.8 megagram carbon per hectare per year. For miscanthus, it is 0.7. And for agriculture, it is 0.4. So these are the B minus A values over here. So this one, again, we have come up with a annual rate of input of C4 soil organic carbon by studying the delta 13C contributions. So in conclusion, it's the best management practice. So if you convert low productive agricultural land to perennial biomass crops, not only you enhance soil organic carbon, we have also now proven that these, by studying the 13C carbon inputs, these crops, these biomass crops, perennial biomass crops, are contributing significantly to the soil organic carbon buildup. We thank you for, again, Ontario Biomass Producer Cooperative for all their support. They have created a website for us, and all these, including this presentation, all the publications, all the master's thesis, all the KTT activities, all the videos, everything has been uploaded to this link. So that will be your one-stop shop. If you want to get further information, you can go to that link and you can see all of our work since 2009 to 2020. Thank you so much.